OTB Culture Hall of Fame.
Brought to you by Now TV. Watch whatever you're in the mood for.
Okay, so you're very welcome along to episode 5 of the OTB Culture Hall of Fame on OTB AM. We're here with thanks to Now TV. All of our previous episodes are now available via the OTB Podcast Network. So that was Rocky 3 for Andy Lee. It was Gladiator for Dermot Kennedy. It was the US Office for Stephanie Preisner. And it was Fawlty Towers, essentially, for Kenny Cunningham. And we're delighted to welcome actor Louisa Harland to this week's episode. Louisa, a storied list of contributors that you're following in the footsteps of, but you've got a great one for us this week. First off, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And
thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I'm in London. I wish I was at home, but yeah, I'm grand. Just like everybody else is grand, I think.
It turns out everybody's watching a lot of TV, which is, you know, it's a good time to have one of the biggest, hottest TV shows on your resume at the moment, I suspect.
Yeah, it is great. I hear a lot of people are rewatching it, so that's really good.
Before we get into your choice this week, which is Gomorrah, will you talk to us a little bit about Derry Girls?
Will the following pupils please report to Sister Michael's office? Erin Quinn, Claire Devlin, Michelle Mallon, Orla McCool, and the wee English fella.
Will we get expelled?
Nobody ever actually gets expelled. Wanda Gallagher hasn't even been expelled and she's an ARA.
So that's probably why.
Don't worry yourselves too much about the whole sectarian conflict carry on. There's really only one thing you need to know. We're the goodies.
What sort of an impact being involved in something like that has for you? Like,
yeah, I mean, I never thought that I was going to do comedy. So it's been amazing in that respect, but in just so many aspects. I mean, being in a female-led comedy, being Irish, it being written by a woman, set in the 90s. It's just, yeah, it's an amazing thing, really, and nobody knew that it was going to take off like it did, so it's just incredible, really. It's hard to kind of fathom.
I saw one of your colleagues tweeting during the week that it was I think 3 years to the day since you guys met for the first table read, and then she said you all went off and got absolutely hammered that night, and
and we all, oh yeah, we were like, we're going to get fired. We don't know if that went well, like they're probably going to recast the whole thing, but yeah, can't believe that was 3 years ago.
And what do you remember about that time? Like, because when you read it first, did you know how good the material was, or were you like, this, if it's handled well, it's going to be good?
I mean, absolutely. As soon as I read the script, I knew it was going to be so funny, and I couldn't wait for my like parents and my mates to like hear it over in Ireland. I didn't think that it would necessarily make such an impact, kind of like across the world. But my father's from Belfast, so like I thought that I could totally do the Northern Irish accent. I was like went in with my auditions, thinking I was nailing it. But yeah, I was not. So it took me a while to kind of like get the Derry accent, and I became obsessed with it. But I had luckily some cast members who are from Derry who helped me out a lot.
Whereabouts is your father from?
He's from Belfast.
Right. So that was this a vastly different accent to Belfast, or?
Well, he's lived in Dublin for the last like 30 years, so he doesn't really. But his uncles have. So I was going in as my Uncle Paddy, thinking I was nailing, the Derry accent, and they are totally different, which I got a strong lesson on. But it was it's fascinating, and I've spent a lot of time in Northern Ireland growing up, going to Belfast, but like it's I thought I knew all about the Troubles. I thought I knew all about that, and I just learned so much about Irish history from being on the show and from around the girls. I've really enjoyed that aspect of it.
That is really interesting. Like I'm kind of quite fascinated by this whole thing, because my parents are from Belfast and left 40 years ago, just as I was born, kind of refugees from the whole Troubles as well. And also I like to think that I did a good Belfast accent, especially when I'm talking to my parents. It's like, oh, it's perfect. But then when I try and replicate it, it's impossible. So what did you do? How did you get good at Derry and kill your Belfast? What happened? How did that work?
I listened to Radio Foil, and I just basically became very close with the cast and the two girls. Hi. Gorgeous.
Every week.
I two of the main cast, Saoirse-Monica Jackson and Jamie Lee O'Donnell, they are proper Derry girls. So, it would have been embarrassing to not nail it. And they would tell you, and we'd ask every night, does this sound okay? Does this sound okay? And yeah, so they were good vocal coaches.
I think there's
like dropping the G at the end of certain words, that kind of stuff, and
and it's like how the THs turn into like double L's, like Muller instead of like mother, like all those type of things. I became obsessed with this, but it's beautiful accent.
There's like a YouTube tutorial on how to nail the Derry accent, and you in character is in the segment on the video as an actual educational tool for people in terms
Really?
of how to learn that. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
one of the first results on YouTube. That's it. Like, is that how you learn it? Like, obviously, you're listening to quite a bit of Radio Foil. Are you like talking back to the radio? Are you having conversations, or what was the technique that got the best Derry accent out of you?
Yeah, that's basically what I did. I would speak to myself loads, and my dad was the probably last person I could convince that I could do a Derry accent. I mean, because I'm his daughter, probably still hears my voice even through it. But yeah, I think with Orla, I tried to actually create another voice so that it would help me kind of slip into that character and accent. So instead of kind of like making the tones of my voice Derry, I like changed the vocal tone so I could exaggerate it to kind of like get into the voice, and therefore I think that's how I kind of created part of my character through the voice.
Well, and look, it's brilliant. I rewatched the first episode again last night, and it's actually sensational. Like, there are so many little strands to the whole thing. Like, that first episode as an opening episode, like, I'd forgotten where everybody was positioned when the door opens and the body is discovered at the end. Spoiler alert. And like, everybody is doing something. It's, so sensational, and the performances are also great. Did you know after the first episode, when that's in the can, right, this is really good?
Well, obviously we don't film it. We film it all back to front, and like, some of episode 6 in the first week and all that type of stuff. But when it first aired, we got, the day after the first episode aired, we got a call for the second series the next morning. So
Right.
we knew then it had done well. Yeah.
Could I ask which was a harder thing to get perfect, the accent or Orla McCool's unbelievable dance at the end of season 1?
Obviously the step aerobics. I mean, I put my life and soul into that. Yeah, that actually I was terrified when I read that last episode, because I was going, this is actually quite poignant. This is actually quite a serious moment, and definitely the first kind of serious moment in the first series. So I was terrified to get the tone right. So I knew that I had to actually, take the step home with me after set every day and sleep with my step and do it a lot. But yeah, it was scary to film as well, because there was like 150 schoolgirls, and I was doing it, in the assembly hall. It was very real, and yeah, it was pretty method.
That's the remarkable thing about television show, isn't it? That I think obviously the hilarity of it all is what draws people in instantly, but I don't think it has the worldwide appeal. It perhaps doesn't have the mural unless it actually can tug at your heartstrings in a completely different way. Like, you think of the very limited list of television shows who can make you cry in 2 different ways, in terms of laughter and in terms of sadness. Derry Girls is up there. Scrubs is the only one I can think of at the moment, but I'm sure other things will come to me.
Yeah, Blackadder is another one. Last episode of Blackadder, classic. I cried when I watched it. And I obviously filmed it and wrote the script. It's Lisa McGee is really, I mean, there's so many elements that make up why the show is good and has been successful, but Lisa McGee's writing and her as a person is really the reason why.
Why do you think it resonates so strongly with so many people and in different age groups?
I don't know why. I think, well, I love the fact that it's a female-led show, but none of the women are sexualized. It's there's such an innocence to Derry Girls, and obviously we aren't 15-year-olds. So, there's just there's a really lovely kind of pure nature, I think, to Derry Girls that everybody kind of, gets warmth from. And I actually still can't get over how people in the UK or in America or like Argentina are finding these so funny, because there's so many jokes that are even so specific to Derry, not even to Ireland, so it's amazing. But it's just it's testament to Lisa's writing, I think, and the cast is brilliant, it really is. And yeah, it's a real honor.
What parts about the Troubles and how present is that whole kind of, because it's a very important milieu. It's a very important part of the whole story. And even in the first episode, there's the bomb, which is stopping
on the bridge,
from happening, and
on
the bridge, and that continues for the whole. That's always there the whole way through. Like, as somebody who kind of grows up largely post ceasefire. What was this whole thing like for you to be going back into that and kind of looking at it and going, okay, right, this was what this was like?
Yeah, crazy. As I say, you know, you learn about it in school and you think you knew about it, but I didn't really. And like, we were filming in Belfast around the 12th of July, and I saw an Orange March for the first time, which blew me away. Like, I was like, what? Like, I you know, just all of these things, and learning about it. And also Dylan Llewellyn, who plays the wee English fella, he didn't learn any about this in school. Yeah, not one little bit. You know, growing up in England, and we were like, what? So that was really fascinating. There's it was such a sad time, and yeah, all about community, and yeah, I've just learned so much.
I actually think that's one of the reasons why it works so well as well, is that it's like, I don't want to say it's not just comedy, but it's actually social history as well as comedy, or it's
Totally
social history told through the prism of comedy. And like, it has to be funny for that to work, because if it wasn't funny, if it wasn't absolutely side-splittingly hilarious, then it's not going to work and people are going to tune out. But obviously they watch, and it bears repeating. Can you take us back to the bit where you're confident enough to win this role, like, and you're getting to the point where you're reaching some kind of peak in your own career? How did you get to that point, and how, like, what had you done before this that prepared you for this? Because the first thing you said was like you were kind of surprised yourself that you ended up doing comedy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I surprised everybody. But I always wanted to be an actor. I used to go to a young people's theatre group called Anne Kavanagh twice a week. I did all my exams. I did lots of feshes, poetry feshes, Shakespeare cups and things like that. And then through that, I actually got a job in Love Hate, where I played Aidan Gillen's daughter in the second series. And I always knew I wanted to go to London to study theatre over there, because I heard that that's the best way to be able to get onto the West End, or, you know, the Globe, is to, you know, train for those 3 years in London. So after I did Love Hate, which was amazing. And obviously, can I just say, when you look back, I obviously hate my performance, and you're going, God, I wish I knew what I knew now. But such an incredible experience to work with that pool of actors on my first job. And then I went off and did 3 years in London. And then I got an agent through there. And then I started to do little bits of work. And yeah, I did a couple of years ago, actually, the reason I got into comedy, I think, is because I did this one take streamed live film written and directed by Woody Harrelson, where he wrote this story where he had a night in London 10 years ago, true story. And he filmed this. He wanted to film it in one take and broadcast it live into 500 cinemas in the US while we shot it in the middle of the night in London. And it had a cast, you know, Owen Wilson and Willie Nelson. It was really quite bizarre, and we rehearsed it like a play, and then we filmed it on that one night. And that was kind of my first thirst for comedy. And I think it was actually casting director Carla Strong who heard that I was doing that little comedy, well, not little, actually very, very incredible opportunity film, and got me in for Derry Girls.
How do you go from Love Hate to Woody Harrelson? It's like,
yeah.
How'd you get that gig? That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I know. How did I get that gig? So literally, they were just looking for working girls in a particular scene, in a bathroom scene. So it was a very, very small part. So obviously, I just graduated from drama school, so I was going up for anything. And they said, my agent said that the audition would be a 20-minute improv with Woody Harrelson, and I was like, well, he obviously won't be there, but okay. I mean, you know, you get loads of these. And then I went, and he was there, and I improvised with him for like 20 minutes. And I left being like, you know, I can die now. You know, I can, no matter, you know, I'm obviously not going to get this, but I can die. And then I did get it. And then he wrote me another scene where I quoted Wes Anderson films with Owen Wilson. I mean, it sounds bizarre. Every time I repeat it, it sounds bizarre. And honestly, he's the nicest man. And it was just the best experience ever, really. It was kind of like doing theatre and film combined, because I really want to do theatre. Theatre is like such a love of mine. Just, it's really it for me. So it was kind of like a combination of the two. It was amazing.
Can I ask if you remember any of the subject matter from that first improv session with Woody Harrelson?
I think he was saying he was trying to buy me a drink, and I had to refuse him at every cost. Do you know what I mean? Like, be repulsed by him. So it was kind of like, I mean, I blanked out, and I just, pure joy. But it really was such a scary, great learning curve. And again, to work with another like pool of actors like that was incredible. And then, that's basically how I kind of got asked to be seen for Derry Girls, and Derry Girls was a really long process. And I finally got it. It was just amazing, really.
Are they your movies? Is your aesthetic the Wes Anderson? Is it the Life Aquatic and Royal Tenenbaums? Is that the type of stuff that you're into anyway?
I was a huge Wes Anderson fan. Royal Tenenbaums is one of my favorite films. Bottle Rocket, I'm big, and I'm a sucker for lovely aesthetics in films and colors, and I get swayed by that. I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of Wes Anderson, and it was just the most bizarre kind of dream come true. But I think you can get it online. I actually think it's on Now TV.
Okay, great.
It's called Lost in London.
There you go.
I'm going to dig that out. You're a fan of the matching Adidas tracksuit then. But that must be ridiculous.
Yeah, big fan.
You're like, they're going to get somebody to sit in for Woody Harrelson, and then it's actually him, and then he writes you a scene, and then you're like kind of rapping to somebody who's been in the movies that you've grown up watching, and this is what?
Yeah. And actually, when we were filming season 2 of Derry Girls, the following 2 years later, he was in Dublin going to a U2 gig, and we had pints in Bison Bar, on the quays. Just that was a bizarre moment for me and all the staff in Bison. But he's incredible, and meet your heroes, because he really is it. And taught me a lot about comedy, working with Owen Wilson, even in that small little scene that I did. He is just an ultimate pro. Pretty amazing.
I mean, look, it's sensational, and the success of the show obviously opens up loads of doors as well. Does that mean that you've got to recalibrate what it is that you think is possible, or is that the type of thing that actors can't really get into? You can't career plan too much because.
I mean, I'm not at that point in my career where I could pick and choose the jobs I would want to do. I'm still at the stage where I feel very privileged for any opportunities. But I would definitely love to get into theatre. I just did theatre basically for the first time. I was in a Carol Churchill play in London in the Royal Court with Toby Jones and Deborah Finley, and that was, has to be probably my favourite job I've done so far. Even possibly including Derry Girls. It was just such an incredible experience. So I have a real thirst for theatre, but I'll take anything. At this point in my career, I will take anything, and I just have such a love for it, and I know how hard it is. So I just feel so blessed to kind of, do anything.
A reminder for everybody. Go on, sorry to do this quickly. The OTB Culture Hall of Fame is sponsored by Now TV. Stream award-winning dramas such as Gangs of London, Game of Thrones, and Parks and Recreation. Take it away, Owen.
Just on that, is it the live element of it, and you might have got that bug as well in Lost in London, or is it the audience interaction and just feeling a separate energy coming from the crowd? What is it about theatre that is the thing that makes it the thing you want to pursue?
Yeah, I mean, I think it stems back when I was younger, of doing Shakespeare monologues and fesh competitions and poetry. But with theatre, you get an instant reaction from the audience and that kind of instant buzz. You also get to play the story from beginning to end and all the way through, as opposed to it's very disjointed when you film and TV. But they're both amazing for different reasons. But theatre is, I don't know. It also comes from my love of live music, because my father took me to gigs my entire life, and I kind of see gigs the same as I see theatre, that kind of live performance, that kind of buzz, and how the audience changes that. I think I love.
Because I was going to ask you about music. You've got Kanye over your shoulder.
Oh yeah, well fair play for clocking that. That's Kanye's first album. I don't know if I want to say embarrassingly, but I'm a diehard Kanye West fan, and I have been since a very small child. So I feel like I haven't been able to give up on him on recent years, even though he's been hard to kind of stick by as a person. But I do love his music. Possibly a guilty pleasure.
No, I don't think so. I think that's totally fine. I mean, it's possible to take sections. Well, actually, I don't know if it's possible, but I certainly think it's possible to take sections of somebody's life and say, let's forget about his most recent stuff, and let's just listen to the College Dropout and be absolutely happy with that.
Yeah. So now he's doing. I don't know if you've heard. He's kind of turned to like gospel music. He's brought out 2 gospel albums, so he certainly always has been evolving. So he's a fascinating artist to follow for sure.
Well, look, it's time for us to ask you, what are you putting in the OTB Culture Hall of Fame? It's a TV series. Am I right in saying this TV series is a spin-off of a movie? The movie came first?
No, I don't know if possibly. I know it was a book originally. I haven't seen the film, and I'm actually not sure which. I think the series came after the book, but don't quote me on that. But the series, it's called Gomorrah. An Italian organized crime gang show set in Naples about a tower block that houses like 900 families, and it's based on a non-fiction novel. I mean, it's all based on fact, and it's just, you know, quite like The Sopranos or The Wire. It's very dark, shot beautifully. The acting is incredible, but obviously it's in Italian, so it's subtitles. But I've now come to realize that I think I need that to watch something fully, because I think with subtitles you can't be on your phone at the same time or do anything else, you know, clicking through anything else. You actually have to fully watch the whole time, so it helps you and stay engaged, and I think that really helps. And it's just so beautifully written and acted. It's highly recommend.
I don't want to miss this point. I actually watch most things with subtitles now. I might just be that I'm at a certain stage in my life where my hearing isn't very good from working in radio for 20 years with the earphones in, but I actually like find that, that's what they said. And a very important plot point where somebody whispers something, you're like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, totally. And I like to see it for the acting as well, like seeing almost like the script on screen, being like, that's how they acted that line, kind of thing. See it as a script. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. I watch everything with subtitles now.
I had it on for Tiger King, I'm not going to lie.
Oh yeah, great choice. I think I did as well.
I'd say Derry Girls is one of the most subtitled television shows in the world.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, I watch scenes back and I don't even understand what I just said sometimes. I'm like, what did I just say? But yeah, people say from Belfast. Like, I got into a cab in Belfast and he was saying he has to watch it with subtitles. So yeah.
That's just Belfast trying to look down on Derry again. Come here. What about Gomorrah? So it's hyper violent and
it is hyper violent. It is hyper violent and dark, but it's really a beautiful show, and Italy is so beautiful in it. Like the south of Italy is so beautiful, and I mean, there's a lot of blood and unexpected killings. But I couldn't recommend it enough. Honestly, it's probably one of the best television programs I've ever seen.
What's it actually about? You know, the way these things all like.
It's about a family business. It's basically like gang crime and around clans, around Italian kind of like mafia clans, and the relationships that go within that. Yeah. I don't want to ruin anything because it's kind of similar to, there's elements like Game of Thrones, which I haven't actually seen, but in terms of mass murder, like the amount of characters that die so painfully.
How many seasons are we talking?
There's 4 series, and I think the 5th season, although it's probably not filming now, it's probably postponed due to coronavirus. But the 5th season is actually going to be set in London. With the backdrop of London, so that's what I've been reading. So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, it's set in Naples for the most part.
Proper Italian mafia, as told by Italian story makers about themselves, which kind of we don't get to see that much of. Really, we tend to get to see American versions of what that would be like.
Yeah, exactly that. And I don't think that they could remake this and Americanize it. And if it did, it probably would be very like The Sopranos. But it's proper Italian, dark, just beautiful cinematography, brilliant acting. Yeah.
I have you seen? I don't know if you've seen The Sopranos, but the scenes where they're in Italy are kind of the weakest scenes in the whole thing because it looks almost like it's a bit cartoonish and and totally cliched. Whereas actually this stuff is like you can see that these are proper Italian actors.
And I heard the actors were actually quite like nervous, and I know the author of the book was actually quite nervous that these people kind of did exist and how quite scary people they were representing and were worried about how it would go down.
I guess for an actor that must be a bit weird when you are portraying a real life character. It's fine when you are creating another human being who is a fictional person. You don't actually have to do anything. There's no responsibility to anybody except yourself and the audience. Whereas with this, it's like, the family still exists. The descendants are still out there.
Yeah, and secrets probably that they uncovered that they didn't want out there. It's a real proper thriller. It's brilliant.
Okay, so that's a recommendation for Gomorrah to go into the OTB Culture Hall of Fame. Oh, and I think we're going to put this in. I think that's how this works, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't have a choice, do you?
No, not at all. I haven't seen this. I'm kind of being educated on this as we go along. I'm currently on Gangs of London.
We're born into a certain world. It's chosen for us. Some might think it's brutal.
No, please don't kill me!
I say it's glorious.
Doesn't sound similar at all in terms of obviously location or anything like that, but I think it could be some sort of Italian version of this where, I don't know, but is there a constant threat that at any given moment there is going to be an unbelievable outburst of blood, gore, and violence? This sort of ever-looming threat, a relaxing way to spend an evening. Like it's an unbelievable feeling, really, when you enter into those terms with a television show that you're like, you're almost invested in the mortality of every single character. But not only that, the way in which they may meet their fate is probably going to shock you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is very much like Gomorrah. Isn't Gangs of London around the business? I don't know. Am I getting it right that it's around the business side of like corruption, or is it about gang life?
Well, so it's so the gangs got rich on heroin and they're now developers essentially, and and how they launder the money for the world's drug empire through London. So they're all still hyper violent criminals at heart, but they've also made so much money that they're trying to build skyscrapers. I think Gomorrah is more like on the streets, and it's still the street
raw.
The violence in Gangs of London is hyper stylized. It's kind of you could imagine a Clockwork Orange score and people kind of enjoying it. Whereas I think like this is more bare hands, kind of a bit of that in Gangs of London too, I think.
Well, that's definitely on my list as well, Gangs of London. Yeah,
it's worth taking out. Well, Louisa, you've been great with your time, and I think that we can definitely recommend Gomorrah to everybody. Like, so can you give us like roughly what your kind of top 2, top 3 all times are? Because like obviously for me it's The Wire and Sopranos, and then after that I kind of have to have a long think about what else makes it in.
Oh, I mean, in terms of dramas.
Yeah, and so where Gomorrah would be pitched at what kind of level of like you said it's.
Oh yeah, The Wire, The Sopranos. That is exactly, any fans of that will eat this up.
Well, that's pretty good. Louisa, you've been great. Thanks a million, and congratulations on the run. When is New Derry Girls going to happen, or what is the kind of schedule you guys are on at the minute?
Well, we were meant to be filming now, so it is being postponed, but there definitely will be a series 3, hopefully sooner than later, but unforeseen circumstances at the moment.
Yeah, Well, no problems. Well, listen, as I said, you've been great with your time. Thanks a million for joining us here on the
Lovely
OTB
to meet you
Culture Hall of
guys.
Fame. Sponsored by Now TV, stream award-winning dramas like Gangs of London, Game of Thrones, and Parks and Recreation, or Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Grey's Anatomy as well. We'll see you next week at the same time. Thanks a million.
The OTB Culture Hall of Fame.
Brought to you by Now TV. Watch whatever you're in the mood for.